From the book Talks with Temerlen. Prayer as an appeal. At first glance, said Temerlen, the Lord's Prayer is an appeal to God. I am here, God is out there, and I ask for His help, for His forgiveness, or for something that I believe only God can grant. The prayer can even be viewed as the beginning of a conversation with God. I start talking, God listens, maybe God answers, maybe not. The prayer is also a form of surrender. It says, God, you are large and powerful and compassionate. I am small and helpless and in need of your grace. I surrender to you and let you take charge. Through this exchange, I feel relief, freedom, joy, love. Appealing to, conversing with, and surrendering to God evokes religious emotion. We feel better. We feel lighter. We feel supported. We may even feel a sense of goodness about mankind, at least for a time. Given all this, it's worth asking what really happens when we invoke this prayer, or any prayer. What's the effect on us? How does it happen? Why does it require prayer to make it happen? And beyond the usual beliefs about prayer, is there anything more, something deeper, something more profound? What if the Lord's Prayer is more than a dialogue and an appeal? What if it's a blueprint, a psychological map for an inner journey? What if we start to realize that this prayer is not meant to bring us closer to God out there, but instead to guide us through the caverns of our psyche and to propel awareness beyond the sense of identity we usually dwell in? In other words, what if this prayer is a tool given to the mind for the purpose of evoking awareness? Pure awareness, conscious of itself apart from thought. I then asked, but where does that leave God? It changes the definition of God, said Temerlen, doesn't it? I replied, it changes everything. He then said, it does. The generally accepted meaning of the Lord's Prayer is that Jesus is the Lord who taught the prayer to His disciples as a way of appealing to God, His Father. The implication is that God watches over those who admit their temptations and sins, which God will forgive if you ask Him to. In the larger context, God is in heaven, and passage from earth to heaven is facilitated through prayer, which concludes in salvation at death. The Lord's Prayer is a way to communicate with God, who responds according to a person's degree of devotion. The more devoted you are, the more God listens. If you ask forgiveness, you'll be saved. If you don't, you go to hell as a non-believer who succumbed to God's nemesis, the devil. As soon as we say all this out loud, he continued, it sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet these beliefs are readily adopted by the mind and never questioned with rigor. I replied, the more you describe it, the more peculiar it seems. Yes, said Temerlen, and all we did was poke at the literal meaning. I replied, and you want to keep poking, don't you? He was silent. After gazing down for a moment, he looked back at me and said, what I want is to shine light on the truth. there is a deeper truth behind this prayer and within this prayer.